Have you ever cried on your birthday? Felt lonelier on your birthday? Because same, I definitely have. And today I'm going to break down some of the reasons why our birthdays can be so emotional, why we can have so much anxiety up until our birthdays. And I'm going to tell you about a challenge I just did where I tried to create my most loved birthday yet. And I'm going to be real honest with y'all about how it went. So for those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Jewel. Welcome, get comfortable. Here at the Socially Delightful Podcast, we have a wonderful time. Get cozy, boo. But I've spent the past 5 years coaching people from all over the world with high-functioning social anxiety and helping them connect everywhere they go. And now I also teach workshops on connection to colleges, universities, and corporations, and I am working on creating systemic change for how we connect. So pull up a seat. Let's get to know each other. Let's talk about birthdays. Now, I think there are 3 big buckets as to why we can get so emotional on our birthdays, why we put so much pressure and have so much anxiety around our birthdays. And so bucket 1, I think existential reasons in general. Y'all, we are wired to fear death, right? Wired to care about death and to actively avoid death. And I just think in general, getting another year older and aging can bring up some anxiety around your birthday, some pressure, which also leads me into my second bucket for why we get birthday anxiety, and that bucket is expectations for your life. So expectations for where you think you should be, where you're supposed to be, if you're comparing yourself to other people, and like being worried about milestones. And one way to check in with yourself on this is if you are saying things like should, supposed to, or if you're really, again, comparing yourself to somebody else, I think are great ways to check in with, okay, am I putting pressure on myself? Like, am I expecting myself to be somewhere I'm not? And y'all, I'm just gonna be so real. I know this so well. I really pivoted my path, and not like a complete 180, but I changed my path a lot in my late 20s for where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And it brought up a lot of expectations that I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not meeting these things, right? Like a lot of my friends are getting married, moving in like with their partners, buying houses, having babies. And those are all things that I want for myself as a almost 29-year-old. I have really pivoted my career and had to make changes, so I completely get it. And I know people talk about it all the time of like, own your path. But I think it's good to recognize, just in general, if you are noticing any of these expectations that you are putting on yourself and you're starting to feel any of this pressure, I think it's just good to check in and be like, okay, but where do I want to go? Like, where do I want to go? Am I actively making progress towards that? Like, am I actively taking steps to get to like where I want to be? And how am I doing that? And noticing, okay, like, so just to use myself as an example, I really want to be a connection educator. I love what I do coaching wise, and I could do it for the rest of my life and just have my little small coaching business and be so happy. But I want to be a connection educator. I want to sell connection journals. I want to teach workshops and speak. I love it. And if I'm being honest, I'm really good at it. I like it. So I want to do speaking things. And I also want to help create change on a systemic level through social prescribing. And so those are a bunch of different things that I'm actively working towards in a bunch of different ways. I went back to school. I now have an internship, but that also means working for free, which means I'm probably not going to have the most money right now to afford to do things that I could do even just a few years ago, right? And so asking myself, okay, how am I taking steps? Like, I see that, and you could even see it in my example right there of, okay, here's where I'm not where some of my peers are, but am I actively doing the things that are going to help me get to where I want to go? Heck yeah, I am. Right? I am actively trying to build my audience so that I can sell connection journals and have more opportunities to teach about connection. I am actively traveling once a month to go to some conference to teach colleges and pitching myself to these colleges, which, by the way, I got 4 colleges that want me to come speak at their schools. I'm so excited. And I think I'm gonna explode. Okay, so I am actively taking steps forward. So am I exactly where I want to be as far as like where some of my peers are? No. But am I taking steps? You know, and I don't like that every day, but at least every week, are you taking steps towards your goals for where you want to be? Then heck yeah, you got to keep doing that. And it's just about putting in the effort over extended period of time of doing that, right? And knowing that helps give me a lot of peace. So I hope it helps you too. Now, the third bucket for why we can get birthday anxiety is the social bucket, right? And I think this can show up in a few ways. One, I think you could spend your birthday worrying about other people's feelings the whole time. Like, are they having fun? Are they having a good time? Right? I think if you get a bunch of people together for your birthday, especially if you're like having like different friends that maybe aren't like super close with each other and they're kind of hanging out for like the second time ever. But for those of you that are people pleasers, this can be really challenging. And this is where we also need to really manage our over responsibility. I really encourage y'all to check out the episode with Sarah Fisk on people pleasing. It's so good. It'll be so helpful for you. Now, I think this other things that are in this social bucket that create birthday anxiety are that it can bring, in my opinion, loneliness to the top of your mind, because it kind of reminds me of like Valentine's Day. If there's a holiday celebrating love and you are really craving, right, like a romantic relationship, really craving that affection from somebody, that might bring up feelings of loneliness, and that's okay. And if you are in the process of creating your most meaningful friendships, and that's part of the reason why you listen to this podcast, if you are in the process of creating your most meaningful friendships, if you are in the process of, grieving even a friendship or a friend group that you're not as close to anymore, or even, y'all, if you are just in your mid to late 20s, early 30s, you're probably experiencing the friendship dip, where you are used to spending so much time with your peers, and now you're not spending as much time with your peers, and so you have like less friends than you used to have. And that can bring up feelings of loneliness, absolutely. And part of that, y'all, is just part of it like raining outside. Like, it doesn't mean anything, it's just raining. That's just it. And having a connection gap, whether you are in the process of making new friends, grieving an old friendship, right now, y'all, those feelings are just like rain. They're just here, they're present, it's okay. I think birthdays can also bring up loneliness, because if we're feeling insecurely attached, that can be a big part of it. And I think as well, birthdays can bring up noticing unreciprocal relationships or unreciprocal prioritization. And what I mean by this is, especially for women, we really care about our friends prioritizing us at the exact same level. And so if we're like, okay, well, I went all out for her birthday and she didn't go all out for mine, it can bring up feelings of, I guess, like just resentment for that, because we put expectations around our birthdays. But if you are interested in prioritizing friends, what it means, and if you're into this like mutual prioritization thing that I'm talking about, you want to learn more about it, definitely check out my episode on who do we prioritize and, why. So definitely check that episode out. It's going to be really helpful. Another episode that's helpful in that is medium friendships. I loved that medium friendship episode. Loved it. Anyway, and then the other thing, kind of related to our previous bucket of expectations, is that we can expect our friends to make a big deal out of our birthday. And I think, and we could be like, okay, this is what a good friend should do. And everybody's got their own definition of what that means, right? Everybody's got their own capacity at different seasons too, right? Like, I have had friends make a huge deal out of my birthday because they had the capacity and means to do so, and then friends be like, hey, love you so much, hope you had a wonderful day, and just get that text like a different year. And sometimes because relationships change, but also just sometimes because capacities change, right? So I think we can also hold our friends to expectations in general. Now, one thing that is a little tricky that I want to bring up is, and I also think it's attachment style related. And for those of you that are like, what's an attachment style? An attachment style is really just a collection of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors for how we relate to other people and to other things in our lives. But to other people, it's like how we act in relationships. And so I think our attachment style can really impact this, but I think this is really common. And it's where we might not tell people that we want people to make a big deal out of our birthday, to really hype us up on our birthday. We might not say, hey, please hype me up. And then what may happen is our friends may think, oh, it's not a big deal, because you're not acting like it's a big deal. You're not telling them it's a big deal. You're not telling them you want them to hype you up. And so then they don't hype you up as much as you want, and then you end up feeling disappointed. But then adding a layer to this, one thing that is really common that I have seen happen with clients is that they will feel like if they don't tell their friends to hype them up on their birthday, they will feel lonely, right? Where my clients will be like, I want to say that my birthday is a big deal to me. I want to showcase that it really matters to me, like feeling hyped up on my birthday. But I'm afraid if they actually did hype me up on my birthday, I would feel embarrassed with all of the attention. So I have literally talked to clients about this, and it's almost felt like they have a choice of, okay, do I feel lonely on my birthday because I'm not asking my friends to hype me up? Or do I feel embarrassed because I did ask my friends to hype me up? And I think that's really attachment style related. It also really reminds me of social anxiety, because as we've talked about on this podcast, social anxiety, a lot of times the root of social anxiety is having a low self-esteem, is feeling shame quite often. And having that low self-esteem, we just want people to love on us and make us feel special, right? We want people to love on us. So that desire to have that sense of like people hyping you up is there. But like social anxiety, if the attention is on you, you might be afraid that other people will see the things that you are ashamed of, or other people will see that you're not actually worthy of this attention and feel really embarrassed about it. So it's so interesting, right? Because social anxiety tells us to hide and it quiets us, but underneath that is a deep desire to feel seen. So those, I think, are the three main buckets for why I think we get birthday anxiety, get so emotional on our birthdays. And I think just being aware of that, y'all, can be really helpful. And y'all, I gotta say, sometimes you just feel sad on your birthday, and it might even be related to reasons that aren't even related to your birthday. It could be just stress that you have going on in your life. It could be grief, and that's all right. Give yourself a little warm hug. Be a loving observer of your experience and your emotions. That's okay. It's okay to be sad on your birthday. Really, it is. And I think all of us can do a better job at inviting love and fun into our birthdays. And so that is why I did this challenge of creating my most loved birthday yet. And y'all, I did this challenge with giving my friends like a 2-week notice for these plans. I didn't spend a lot of money, and this isn't a milestone birthday. I'm turning 29, right? It's not my 30th birthday. So where's the audacity of creating my most loved birthday yet? Well, here is what I did. So and you can check out and I document this in like the text that I sent and all the specific things on my socials. But what I did, y'all, was I messaged my friends and I set the intention. No, I'm gonna rewind. Okay. So y'all, here is how I approach creating my most loved birthday yet. I started with sending a message to my friends, being vulnerable, and just being vulnerable and saying like, hey, y'all, here is where I have been at in life. I've been having some tender feelings. Chasing your goals is scary, right? It's fear and doubt are coming up, and I would really like words of encouragement. So I was very vulnerable with them. I really specifically asked for what I need. I even went so far as to tell them, hey, I feel the most loved through letters. I do not want any gifts. I don't need anything. Like, another thing in my house actually kind of thinks, like, just thinking about that gives me a little bit of anxiety, right? Like, I don't need another thing. And I also don't need like a bunch of sugary treats and like chocolates and things to have for a while. I don't need that either, And so I was vulnerable and I asked for what I needed. And I said, hey, y'all, it would mean a lot to me if you could bring a letter. So I was vulnerable. I stated exactly what I wanted. And I also was very flexible about it, because here's the thing, y'all. I asked for letters, but if people showed up to my birthday, and this is just the flat out truth, I was not upset at all if they didn't have a letter. I can't even tell you like who really came without a letter. I don't even like, I can't even picture it, but I know people did. But anyway, like, I can't even remember who did, who didn't come without a letter. And I think this is because I also honored their capacity, and instead what I did was I had index cards and colorful markers and stuff, and I was like, hey, I know some of y'all are really busy. Some of my friends are really going through some things. Like, wow. And so I had cards and markers there. If you didn't have capacity, whether it's emotionally or time-wise, to write me a letter this week, because sometimes I'll spend like an hour writing a letter, right? If you didn't have that, that's totally fine. Come to the birthday and write it there if it feels good to you, right? And y'all, that was so fun. Like, truly, it was so fun. And I think what really worked about this is I didn't have the energy of like, this is an expectation. It was just straight up an invitation to love on me in the way that felt good to me, and to be really specific about that and really clear about that with my people. And at my birthday, I actually interviewed some of my friends about it and was like, hey, did you feel like it was weird that I asked for what I needed? And literally everybody said no, it wasn't weird. And everybody like even said like, no, it makes so much sense. And I was like so relieved to know how to make you feel loved. Now, this also enhanced our connection, because connection, a huge part of that is being vulnerable. And vulnerability is not just like digging into your traumas and like that negative stuff. So it was vulnerable in general for me to ask for them to make me feel really good and loved, and be like, hey, I would really love to be like encouraged right now as I am achieving my goals, and to have these letters to look back on. That would mean a lot to me. That's vulnerable. And I was vulnerable in a sense of, I did share, if you will, a little bit more of the negative side, but I just shared, hey y'all, in general, this is how I've been feeling. That's connective. That is so connective. Now, I will also say that having this invitation energy of, I'm inviting you to this event, but I'm also inviting you into this experience with me, to partner with me, to love on me, was beautiful and amazing. But what it also did, y'all, was it gave a reason for why my birthday was important to me. It wasn't, so y'all, this actually reminds me, when I was looking to move out, before I really pivoted my career path and decided to stay where I am at longer, living with my parent, a friend and I were talking about living together. And y'all, the friend was so chill about it that I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I guess it would just be like, what, it's nice to her. But I was like really excited. And I was like, it would be so fun to live with you. I would have like an absolute blast. We could do this, we could do this. And my friend was like, yeah, no, that would be really great. That would be cool. Well, when it came time to moving out, my partner and I were just like, okay, it actually just makes more sense if the only thing that we're finding are like 2-bedroom apartments, and I would need, or like 2-bedroom houses. and I would need a space for my office to do my work, like 1,000%. So we need a third bedroom. So I told my friend, hey, we're just gonna look for like a 2-bedroom space because that's like all we're finding right now. And my friend was really upset and disappointed. And not in like an angry sense, which it would have been okay if she was. I would have had the same reaction, to be honest. But she was like surprisingly upset. And I was like, I had no idea that this was as upsetting to you. And she was like, yeah, I was really excited to live with you. And I was like, my friend, I didn't know that. You didn't express that to me at all. You were just like, yeah, no, that'd be cool. That'd be nice. And so I was like, great, it'll be nice. I didn't realize that it was as like super important to you. And if it was, then we will hunt longer, right? For a 3-bedroom place. And she was like, wow, you're right. I really didn't express that to you. And so y'all, I just want to put that out there. Like if you are not expressing it, like your intentions, or if you're not giving your people a reason why something is important to you, then they might not prioritize it simply because they just don't know. Now, before my birthday, I'm gonna be so real. I wanted to do a cleanup and do like a dorky activity that was gonna be outside, and then the weather said, just kidding, it's literally gonna rain. And I was like, great, cool. But I don't drink anymore. It's almost been a year of not having alcohol except for like wine tasting here and there. And so I was like, man, I could have people over, but that makes me a little nervous because I don't want people to think it's a party. Y'all, surprise, surprise. Is once again communication. Wow.
Oh my god! Wow!
What a radical concept. I also just told my people that. I was like, hey, I don't care if you have like a little bit to drink. Like, you know what I mean? Totally fine. I don't care if you drink. But also as a friendly reminder, this is not really going to be like a party because I just want to have fun with y'all and do a game night instead. And y'all, I chose games that were group games to get everybody together and that were really silly. And this also helped make my most loved birthday yet. The silliness of it all was so intoxicating and released so much oxytocin in my body. I couldn't believe my body could handle it all. It was not just the most loved birthday of my life, spoilers. It has been my most loved birthday yet, but it was also the most fun. It was so silly. And it's funny, right? Because my original plan wasn't working. I actually had an emotional night the night before. But one thing that I did was I chose to look for the ways that people were connecting. I put on my connection glasses and chose to look for the ways that people were investing in me. And then I planned these fun, silly things that I was excited about that were really fun to me and like allowed everybody to do it together. So those games were Spoons or Kemps, Kemps, if y'all want to look that up. Spoons, Kemps. There was this game called Happy Salmon and it was so fun. And we did other things as well too. But having that, it just made like it was just so silly and allowed us all to really just embrace our inner childs and like connect with each other on that level. So yes, it was my most loved birthday yet. My friends also blew me away with the kindness that they had. My mom blew me away with the kindness and love that she had for me and expressed for me. And it worked, and nothing was aesthetically cute, nothing was expensive at all, and nobody had like a ton of notice, and it was still like the best time ever. Absolutely. And so what I want to tell y'all, if you want to create your most loved and fun birthday yet, is for you to set an intention when you are inviting your people. Give them a why. Tell them why it's important to you. And then set an invitation. Invite them to love on you in the way that feels good for you. Communicate what you want and what you don't want. And invite them. And inviting is important, right? Don't just like set the expectation and be like, if you don't meet it, if you don't write me a letter or else, you're not a good friend. No. Invite them and be flexible and understanding of other people's capacity and time. It also just feels good for you to be understanding of other people's time and capacity, right? So have an invitation energy about it. And then lastly, I would say, well, two more things. I would say put on your connection glasses, filter and look for the ways people are investing in you and loving on you just because it feels fun. And then the last tip is to have some version of play involved in this. Have fun, be silly, have funny group games. Honestly, y'all, biggest hack, and it was the absolute best time. I can't say it enough. Add play into this, which a podcast on play is coming up soon. But do that. It was the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and hearing about my birthday.